get started. This is Nizar, one of the co-founder of Sitecore user group in Chennai. Today we have the HUG session on Sitecore Cortex. It is a privilege to have Naveed doing the honors with this session today. He's a wonderful gentleman, a Sitecore MVP, and a well-known person in the Sitecore community. It's a quite interesting topic, as all you know. So there only few sessions actually happened, I think. So we are kind of fortunate to have this session today here. Once again, on behalf of HUG Chennai, I invite Naveed for this webinar. Over to you, Matt. Thanks a lot for joining. Please do the honors. The session is recorded. It can be viewed offline as well, so can be reached in many ways. So, it is yours, please.
Okay. Hello. Right. Thank you, Sitecore User Group Chennai, for inviting me. It's an honor for me to speak on this user group. The topic today is obviously, if you can see my screen, Sitecore Cortex, the mind in the marketing machine. My name is Naveed Ahmad, and I'll be talking about this today. I hope you are as excited and as enthusiastic about the topic as I am, because it really shows the power of Sitecore behind the scenes and how you can really use Sitecore to do auto personalization and all other such advanced technologies. So just a little bit of agenda today. So we will talk about a little bit of machine learning in general. Then we get into Sitecore Cortex. We'll have a deep dive into Sitecore Cortex, what happens there. And then there is a little demo at the end as well. So let's hope we get through everything pretty well. Just a little intro about myself. I've been working with Sitecore for around 9-10 years. I'm a Sitecore MVP for the past 2 years, based out of Washington, D.C. in East Coast. And one thing I like to advise you pretty strongly is to use Sitecore Slack. Just even if you're not contributing, just to be a member there and try to read what's happening, because it's a really powerful tool and there's wealth of information that flows through there every day. So highly recommended to you become a member of Sitecore Slack. All right, let's start with what is machine learning. So I thought before I get into Sitecore Cortex, it'll be a good point to get started with a solid basis of what is machine learning, how it is different from traditional learning, and is it going to replace, website development? So that's a question I get asked sometimes, but, just bear in mind that machine learning will not replace traditional programming. And as a software developer, you'll not use machine learning to build websites. Usually, machine learning will complement your standard programming languages, standard programming methods, rather than completely replacing them. For example, you'll use machine learning to build suggestive personalization, whereas you will use your traditional programming languages to build the interfaces, the UI, all the integrations, and so on. So having said that, there's I've already said there's two models of programming. One is traditional programming and one is machine learning. So what you do in traditional programming versus machine learning? So in traditional programming, you will have you write a program and you supply some input, and then you get an output of the program. For example, if you have to write a program about identifying apples, or it's like an image recognition program to find out if the desired input is an apple, so you will have to rely on a lot of parameters like what's the shape of the object, what's the color of the object, and what's the dimensions and how it is related. So there's hundreds and maybe more parameters that you need to rely on and check to correctly identify if the actual object or actual image that you're presenting is an apple. Whereas in machine learning, you do it reverse. So what you do is you have your input and you have your all the images about Apple, and you tell your program, hey, if you see this picture, then the probability of this being an apple is 100% or 90%. And over the time, so if you supply your program with 100 images or 1,000 images, the more images you will provide, the better accuracy it will become. It will become more and more accurate. And then at the end, what you get at the bottom here is a program. It's saying program, but it's actually a ML model. So you get a trained model at the end. Once you have the trained model, what you can do, if you supply another image of an apple, it can tell you it's an apple or it's not an apple. And that's it. So that's the main difference between how you do your traditional programming and machine learning. Okay. So, as I was explaining, so this is just a picture representation of, you can supply your input as an apple and also tell your program that these are apples. And then your model will say, is it an apple, yes or no? And based on that, algorithm, or based on that model, it can always correctly predict that this is an apple. So machine learning helps when the task is too complex or almost impractical to code directly. That's where machine learning really helps out. Machine learning can automate tasks that were thought can be done by humans only, like image recognition, segment analysis, or predicting prices. And then we also have unsupervised learning, which can figure out different variations of the pattern and group them together. So if you look at the example at the bottom right, where you have a collection of apples and bananas and oranges, at this point, we don't tell our program or model like what it is. All we ask it to do is to group them together. So it will group all the apples together, all the oranges together, and all the bananas together. So it can look at all the objects and it can find out the similarities and it can group them together. So that's another way of, you supply some data to the program, and then based on that thing, based on your input, it can classify or group them. So the second way, just keep in mind, this thing is going to come later. Okay, so that's just a little bit background on machine learning and what it can do. Let's see some examples of machine learning which is happening every day around us. So I guess everybody knows about Facebook, which is a social media platform, Netflix, which is a very popular video streaming platform, and Uber, which is a cab hailing platform. And let's see how they're using machine learning currently in their platform and how they are implementing it, or how they're improving the experience of the user. So Facebook uses machine learning in almost all of the features of their platform. So whether it's like you getting the latest news feed, or you see in your news feed you see information like people you may know and so on. One of the instances, for instance, like if you upload an image at Facebook, it will suggest you to tag your friends in the picture. So if you go home today and upload a picture of you with a group of your friends, and you'll see that Facebook will automatically recognize that these are your friends in the picture. Now, how does Facebook know all these things? So this was possible because over the years, Facebook has collected enough pictures of you and your friends that it can recognize them and suggest you to tag them. So this is an example of the first one where we've been showing apples, and then now it knows like this is an apple, and it can recognize like, okay, so this is this person, and I know when you're uploading it, I can recognize it correctly and I can identify this person. The other benefit of this approach is if somebody unknown uploads your picture and some other on some other ID on some other Facebook page, you will get an alert that somebody has posted this picture. So it's also a privacy concern or a privacy or security concern, security feature that Facebook has. Let's look at Netflix. So Netflix uses advanced machine learning algorithms to tailor the home screen content. So most of the time, if you look at the screen on the right-hand side, it is suggesting you, because you have watched so-and-so, you may be interested in such show. Their algorithms can select rows and titles and visuals based upon the genre and so on. So if you have watched, let's say, an action movie, or if you watched a romantic movie or like a documentary, it can start tailoring out in content and start showing you relevant content. This has been a huge benefit for Netflix, because people come back to the platform and see what Netflix has recommended them to watch or what new there is to watch. And as per their reports, they say majority of the users use their recommendation engine instead of searching for a particular movie from the search bar. So a lot of the people will just scroll down from top to bottom, or they will scroll left to right to get to their desired movie or desired show or TV show. And the last example is Uber. So Uber uses machine learning for almost all of its decisions, and they are all based on data. When they started their application or their platform, they used to calculate fare based upon distance and time. For example, you're going from point A to point B, and this is how long it's going to take, and so this is the fare. But then they recently changed all their fare prediction algorithms and started introducing more variables like weather conditions. So if it's raining, maybe you want to increase the price, or if it's snowing or something else. Time of the day, it's off-peak hours, peak hours, rush hours, what time of the day it is, and location. So if you are booking a ride from an affluent area or going to somewhere nice, they can change all those prices. So they've built in all these calculations within their fare prediction models. All of this was possible because they have collected all the information over the years. And also, what else they can do is, based on their historical data that they've collected, they can alert drivers to be present to meet upcoming demand. So think of it, if you call an Uber and you have to wait for like 10, 15 minutes for Uber to come to you, you will just cancel the ride. So what they do is, based on historic data, they know there's a lot of requests coming from near the bus stop or near the train station at these timings. So they will just alert drivers to be present at those places. And then that just, helps them retain the customer and provide a good customer satisfaction. All right, so enough about machine learning. I hope I've given a general overview and everybody understands what are we going to talk about next, because now we're getting into Sitecore and Sitecore Cortex, data science and marketing working together. So this is a slide that is, this image is probably the most prominent image if you go on Sitecore website that you will see. So what's the story so far for Sitecore? So Sitecore introduced online marketing suite back in 2009, almost 10 years ago, when they started doing personalization. Since then, Sitecore had offered full marketing experiences, allowing content editors to personalize customers' experiences. So that helped. And then later on in their journey, they introduced XDB, which allowed people to capture big data, including interactions, conversion, test results, and patterns. So this is all good. People are capturing data, there's a big data, and they were applying personalization. But there was a problem. The problem was, well, we love the idea of capturing big data and having endless opportunities to personalize content. It also introduces its own set of challenges. So what were the challenges? The challenges were to analyze this data manually. So for example, if you have a website and a website is getting 10,000 visits a day or 10,000 visits a month, and every visit is making at least 10 interactions, you can see the data will just go on. It will be the collected data will be so big that it's not possible to analyze all the segments and all the user journey patterns. It will report to you like these are the segments or these are the user journeys, but you will miss out some of them. And that's only because we are human, and you can only process limited amount of data and execute one task at a time. So having big data was good, but analyzing that big data, that's the problem. And so what's the solution? Sitecore Cortex, that's where it comes in. So Sitecore Cortex will allow marketeers to enhance the experience data with power of machine learning. It can provide insight to things and patterns that humans may miss out during manual analysis. And it will provide unique and individualized experience, which is key to success. Just like you saw in case of Facebook or Netflix, where you were giving your individualized experiences, that's really the key to success. So with the help of Sitecore Cortex, what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to find segments and patterns and other features that you will miss out manually. Okay. So we have showing, this is a big picture. So this is like this is what we call the mind or the big brain or the big picture of Sitecore Cortex. So if you think of it as like a human brain where you have the left-hand side and the right-hand side, left-hand side is a bit more analytical and the right-hand side is a bit more creative. So if you look at, right-hand side on the marketeers, which is the purple one, as a marketeer, what you want to do, you want to segment your users or have all those profiles and personas. You need to suggest rules, optimize your content, and you want to predict outcomes. So those are all the things as a marketer you want to do. And as a data scientist or an engineer, data scientist plus engineer, they'll be working together to make, work on the processing engine, scoring your profile, connecting with the ML server, model training, and model storage. So if you will combine the power of data scientists and a marketer together, you'll get the best results out of it. Data flow and user journey. So in today's world, a customer may not follow a straight path from landing onto a page towards making a purchase. For example, if I have to go and buy a phone online, let's say I wanted to buy a phone online, it is not possible or it is not expected that I will go onto a page, I'll go to the website, I will click on Samsung mobile phones, and I'll buy the first phone that I see. That's the ideal path, but that's not what is going to happen. If you've made a purchase online, you will know that you will go in, you will check out different phones, you will check out their different specifications, you will read reviews, you'll do a lot of things before you finally decide to make a purchase. So, people will jump from section to section while they're making up their mind or their decision. But with machine learning, it is possible to analyze such complex user data flows and journeys. So, it can help you, machine learning will help you to analyze all the journeys and probably group them together, and it can figure out a pattern that you may not figure out yourself. Data is the key, So machine learning, in case machine learning requires a lot of structured data. And if your data is not structured, it's just some random noise. You can have a lot of data, but if it is not correlated or next to, if the rows and columns don't make sense, then it will just not work. However, with Sitecore, you have an advantage because with Sitecore XDB, you already have large amount of structured data available, which you are already using to build out reports on your marketing dashboard. So you already have that advantage if you've been collecting Sitecore data or personalization data for a while. This is where it is going to come into play, and this is where you can enhance your experiences. So just to recap, Sitecore Cortex, the mind is a marketing machine. What it can do, it can harness your experience data with the power of machine learning. It can help marketers doing their day-to-day job with features like content tagging and suggested personalization. And it is a scalable data processing platform designed to work with XDB, and it can leverage rich integrated data sets. So let's, in the next few slides or next few sections, I'm just going to go deep into one of three of these features, which are content tagging, suggested personalization, and predictive outcome, and see what's available and what is available now. So if you content tagging using Open Calais, Open Calais API is a service which is provided by Thomson Reuters. What this service will do is it can analyze the semantic content of input data and use some statistical machine learning algorithms and return you tags based on that. So simply put, this service can take the data as the input and return tags as the output. So you supply it like a web page, and then it will return you back with a list of tags that is available for that web page. It's pretty simple to integrate, and it is available out of the box. So if you have installed Sitecore 9.1 recently, or if you don't have a chance to install it, when you install it, you will see this new item here, which is called tag item. That's only available in the features which are 9 points above. All you have to do is go to Open Calais website, register your account, get an API key, and then place it in your web config settings, and then it will become enabled, and you can start tagging. So I'll show you a demo of this thing later in the presentation. And as a developer, you can integrate with any other provider providing custom methods. So Sitecore only provides integration with one API, but you can write your own custom methods or custom pipelines to implement or to do to integrate with other APIs. Okay, suggested personalization. So this is pretty interesting, as if you in Sitecore 9.1 and above, if you will click on Experience Optimization tab, there is a new personalization menu option which will appear, which is not there in the previous version. And what you see on the right-hand side is a list of tests, and which is displaying you total number of suggestions in tests and what's the total predicted effect. So these tests are basically your standard multivariate A/B testing on the pages, where you can show two different versions of the same page or three different versions of the same page to a segment of audience and find out which page is performing better. So you set up that A/B testing or multivariate testing on your page. You run it for a few days, and you will, it will once it's finished, then it can start suggesting what will be the suggested output. So here's an example of like when a page was tested against two experiences. One was called experience one and experience two and original. So what the test is showing is the original performed better than experience one and experience two. But due to the power of Sitecore, Cortex, we were able to identify that although experience one and two or three did not win, in certain scenarios they performed better. So for example, experience three, where the number of visits is greater than two, and the visit started at one of the pages, search results, contact dealership. You can see the predicted outcome is to the test winner is 191% more. So what this is saying is, although experience three didn't win the overall, but in cases where people were coming back for the second time and landing on the search results page, the predicted outcome or predicted predictive rate on conversion rate was almost 200%. So that's something that it wasn't that's something that you get to know with Sitecore Cortex. And overall, in this diagram, the left-hand pane contains a list of segments that responds better to the test winner. The weighted predicted effect, which is represented here, row indicates the effect of the preferred option, and then the total predicted effect will show you the overall total predicted effect. The right-hand side is just showing you the preview of each of the experiences. So if what you can do is you can select these experiences. So let's say you want to select experience one and experience two, and you can click on an apply button, which is available on this window, but not coming up on my screen. So if you apply personalization suggestion, the test winner will remain as a default experience for the visitors who do not match any of the segments, but where these experiences were giving the best value, if these will show up. So they will be shown to those segments. So for example, if somebody is from a country, Denmark or Malaysia, and is getting a 10% discount if they're triggered by computer, they will be shown experience one instead of the original experience. So, that's the power of Sitecore Cortex, that although, without Sitecore Cortex, you won't be able to identify these missing patterns, or these tests would not give any positive results without Sitecore Cortex. So just refer back to the example that I gave earlier about a collection set of fruits where you have all the apples and the banana and the oranges together, and how the program was able to segment out different groups. It's exactly the same thing which is happening here. It was able to segment out different users or different types of users which were making purchase randomly in a different segment. So that's real power behind the scenes. Predictive outcomes. So with predictive outcomes, you can personalize. On the likelihood of an event. So this is a personalization rule that has a greater value when a visitor is really close to converting with a likelihood greater than 80%. You can now serve content to push visitor into conversion specific content or discount code. So you can have these, this is a standard Sitecore engine rule that can be applied where you can see based on the pattern, where the likelihood of converting is more than 80%. Another reason where you will use likelihood is if the score is very low. So for example, if you see that the probability is less than 20%, and there's no chance that the visitor is going to convert, maybe you can start showing them different content, or maybe you can start showing them more discounts or different promotion kind of content. So Overall, all these predictive outcomes, they use context facets as features on the model. The scoring data is stored in XDB as facet on a context, and then the data is available to be used within the personalization rule. So all this is available today. You can build your own personalization rules. You can do suggestive personalization, and you can do content tagging. Okay, let's do a deep dive into Sitecore Cortex. So we've seen what's available in machine learning. We've seen what's available in Sitecore Cortex. Let's go down one level deep, because I believe most of the audience is developer. So infrastructure overview. From infrastructure point of view, if you install Sitecore 9.1, you will see additional worker processors or worker roles. The web apps which are available in yellow, Cortex processing and Cortex reporting, and these two DBs, they are in addition to what you were getting in Sitecore 9.02 or previous versions of Sitecore. So it does have additional processing engines, and it does have additional databases to do all the processing and store all that data. So one of the key elements of Sitecore Cortex is Sitecore Processing Engine, and this is a very high-level diagram where you have, on the left-hand side, you have your data sources, which could be your XDB context, your interactions, or your custom data, and where you can send it to Sitecore Cortex Processing Engine, which can then interact with external services, apply some algorithms, get them trained, and then you can use to store those ML models in a data sink, or it could be, again, XConnect or XDB data. So this Sitecore Cortex Processing Engine, this could be a Windows server, it could be a console application if you're running it locally, or if in terms of Azure, it could be an Azure Web Job as well, which becomes scalable. So processing engine is a worker role that performs data processing tasks. The processing engine allows you to schedule tasks from content management instance using Task Manager API. The processing engine is made up of following key components: workers. They perform data processing tasks such as model training. Task managers, they're responsible for communication with the message bus, and agents that they delegate tasks to workers. So if you will be extending Sitecore Cortex, these are the elements, or these are the new components that you will need to know about. So as a developer, you can extend processing engine in following ways. You can create a custom worker. You can create a custom data source for projection. You can create a custom data projection. A data projection actually means that you formulate the data or rationalize the data that is acceptable for machine learning algorithms. So you can have your interaction data or collection data in 3 or 4 or 5 different tables, but now you want to have like one unified table. In machine learning terms or in ML terms, that's called data projection. So you can create your custom data projections. You can implement custom model training or create custom agents. The default processing engine role is responsible for building personalization rules and publishing them to the reporting database. And the processing engine also provides an integration point for your machine learning platform of choice. So by default, Sitecore integrates with Microsoft ML Server, but that's not the only one. You can integrate with any other point. All you have to do is provide the correct interface methods or wrapper methods around them. Let's go into workers. So as I mentioned earlier, there were 3 key components: workers, task managers, and agents. So this is workers. So there's as a, there are two types of workers: distributed workers and deferred workers. So a distributed worker will read the data in batches from external data source and perform processing on that data, such as projecting it into a format that is suitable for machine learning. An example of distributed worker is projection. Deferred workers are called once by single task agent, and they do not accept data source by default. So deferred worker will mostly be working on an existing, performing some task which is not related to data source. So for example, exporting a train model or training worker or running a calculation or training a model. All those things, all those tasks could be performed by deferred workers, and some examples are merge worker or a train worker. So these are the new terminology, the new components that are introduced by Sitecore Cortex. And what you can do, what the bottom right-hand side figure is showing, is you can chain these tasks or chain these workers together to produce a final machine learning model or machine learning model. So right at the far right end over here, what you see is a trained model that could be used. Over here, what we're doing is we're collecting data sources, performing some tasks, formulating them, projecting them. Then we are combining it into a tabular format, or into like merging it with external or internal data sources, and then doing some more processing work to produce this trained model. So you can chain these tasks to get your final model. Task manager is responsible for registering tasks to be picked up by agents in the Cortex processing engine. By default, there are two implementations. One is for messaging. One is for content. One is for content management role, which can register your tasks via message bus. The other one is used for registering processing tasks into the database. So what I mean by this message bus and registering tasks is basically when an event is happening in your Cortex processing, it will use a message bus to tell reporting database or collection database that this report is completed, or this report is pending, or it is deferred, or it can tell all those different Sitecore Cortex or Sitecore roles where we are in the process of completing that task. And on the right-hand side, what you see is the sample code of injecting an instance of the task manager. So that's how you can inject and register a task. So once the task is registered with the message bus, it can know that when a worker has completed his task, it has not completed his task, and that's how they will communicate. And finally, we have agents. So agents are responsible for processing work within the Cortex engine. What you will have to do is you will have to schedule agents to run every so often, so that they could see if there is a task to be executed, if there's a task which is deferred, if there's a task which is pending, and you can set them up. So processing engine ships with several default engines, including task agents, polls, Cortex processing engine tasks, and processing engine tasks at regular intervals. Okay, so finally, the conceptual interview. I'm sorry, maybe it's getting too heavy, but just wanted to give this conceptual overview of what it is. So think of a task agent as a thread or a processing, where you have a task executor which will execute different workers, which can generate different models, or it can combine with different data storage, data storage resources. On the right-hand side, you see it will also have communication with the message bus. It can connect to machine learning server, or it can connect to external any other service, and it can also store that model into a data sink, or a data sink is essentially any kind of database or a zip file or anything. So you will have all your, your task agents will execute your workers, and at the end, once you get the model, you can store it. Okay, so let's get into the demo. So I've prepared this demo, this a video, where I'll just show you in a Sitecore 9.1 installation where you can see the new suggested personalization, and then I will switch into content editor role where I will show you content tagging using Open Calais. So the system was already configured with connected with Open Calais, so it was able to do all those tagging instantaneously. So let's start. So I'm starting this demo, and I click on Experience Optimization Board. So what you see on the left-hand side is a new personalization suggestion, and then over here it's mentioning during content testing, Sitecore Cortex identified various segments. Obviously, I did not have enough real data, but once you have enough real data, you will see all those suggested personalization rules, and where it will be able to identify you what happens next. Now let's switch into Sitecore Content Editor, where you will see your standard home page. And on the home page, if I click Save, there's a new item here, which is, let me just pause for a second. Which when I click, it is going to start tagging. It will start tagging the page, and if I scroll down, what I will see is a list of tags that have come up from the Open Calais service. So just to refresh the page, I'm going to click on some other content item and then click back, and what you see here is all the tags that have been translated. So what happened actually is, by clicking this new tag item button, it was able to connect to the API service, bring in the tag, and then tag the page. Now this is really powerful. If you have content data and you're not tagging, or it's not tagged and it's unstructured, you don't know how to group them, because one of the key ways to group your data together is through tags, and how you can, and then tag will help you to build all your personalization engines and all your recommendation engines and so on. So in the next step, what I'll be doing is I will create a page. I will create a new sample page, and I will add a news article about mobile phones, and then I will run the tagging service again. So let's start with that. So I'm creating a sample item. I'm copying the item title from another page. Click OK. It will create a page. I can see there's no tag. Over here in the selected column, I'll click Show Editor, and now I'm going to copy paste from my device, from my web page, where I had Samsung was revealing some sort of handset, and so on. So once I've done copy paste, I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click on tag this item, save this item, and then I'm going to tag this item. So I can see there's no tags available on save. When I click on tag item, it is doing the same job. So this is like a real content which just appeared on the page. I can click on refresh. I can see some new tags in here, and I'm just going to refresh the page by clicking on some other page and then clicking back. And as you can see, I see new tags populating on the page, which is, you can see there's like definitely Samsung Electronics and Samsung tags. So that's the that's something which is available today. Auto tagging. You can check this thing out. Install Sitecore 9.1. Do all your tagging. In the tag item, there was also an option to tag sub items of your page. So you can tag top level item and all the sub level items. And that's it. That's the end of the demo. And I'm ready for any questions and answers. Thank you for attending. If you would like to learn more about Sitecore Cortex, there's a YouTube channel. You must visit that, and then the standard developer resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Naveed. Any question, guys?
Hey Naveen, I have one question. So
Sure.
let's suppose right now we have just see a demo by using the third-party API, but I did not see any role of Cortex within that because it's very simple. If you have an item and the text from different text from it, and we can send it to a third-party API. So actually, Cortex is not doing anything here. A third-party API is doing everything, and it is just returning that data which we are binding it to the Sitecore. So what's the role of Cortex here in this demo?
I agree. The role of Cortex will come once you have all that structured data and once you have all the XBB or interaction data. Either you need to create that data manually, or you will have real data. So the role of the Cortex that you saw here was not that it wasn't doing any processing, but it's a feature of the new Sitecore Cortex that it can allow you to tag it. You're right. You can write a custom service API and get the tags and tag it. But eventually, all this structured data will help Sitecore Cortex to do implementation, to build your suggested personalization or to build your predictive outcomes engine rules.
Because we have done this kind of POC where we have scanned the images by using the Azure ML API and which is returning the tags. So that's but still we have not used the Cortex. It's all Azure ML libraries are doing everything. We are just integrating that with the Sitecore. And second thing that that I am facing difficulty within the Cortex part is that there is not enough sample code or some sample application, like for the Sitecore best practices or application. We have the habitat as one of the things which we can pick it and we can learn it. But for the Cortex, we did not find any particular code base or any sample code or application. So if you know something, then it will be great for us if you can update here.
I know. That's for sure. I wasn't focusing on doing the actual code demo here, but I definitely know a blog series. It's like 8 or 7 blog posts that will get you started with, all these different types of Cortex and how these engines are working. So there is definitely sample code out there. I can, update it either in the chat after the call, or I can send it to Mr. and he can help you out.
Thanks.
Okay. There's also a video. There's also a video of using Sitecore Cortex demo on the user in the Sitecore
Master Sitecore
YouTube channel. Yeah, right. Master Sitecore. They've uploaded a video for. You can also check that one out too.
Yeah.
Naveed, one question from this side. So, if we have a structured data from other external system, that also we can pass into Cortex and it will process and it will predict, right, what we are requiring. It's not only really required to be there in Sitecore XDB.
No, it doesn't need to be. So just like, in just like you have you have your omni-channel tracking, like you can have data anywhere. You can extract data from external resources and use the processing engine to do that thing.
Okay, got it. Thanks. Any other question, guys? I think no. So, all right, we have just in time. Nizar is again here on behalf of SUG Chennai. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Naveed for this wonderful session. Here he talked about content tagging, suggested personalization, and some deep dive into Sitecore Cortex engine and some nice demo. And also, as suggested by Naveed, please, he's always there in the Slack channel and the community. If you have any further questions or doubts, please feel free to reach out to him. And once again, thank you, Naveed, coming forward to have this session, and looking forward to have more sessions from you. Thank you, folks, for joining. Hope you have enjoyed the session, and looking forward to meet you in the next session. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.